time for topic of the show. Each week we take a special item from the Nintendo pipeline and break it down bit by bit. And right now I'm just thinking that the previous snippet, when that closes out, it's just going to be, and I'll prove you wrong. But for those of you that are just listening to the topic of the show snippet here on YouTube, you don't know what we're talking about, so you should just go listen to the whole show. Today's topic of the show is the latest rumor on the Nintendo NX via NeoGAF and Foxconn. We'll get into more details soon, but it may be the most legitimate bundle of info we've ever received on the Nintendo NX. So get your seatbelts on, tie them in a loop. Rawr.
Time to go out and buy a seatbelt.
You go out and buy them? Yeah, I guess so. Or just go cut it out of your car.
That was Kasich. John Kasich.
Do you hear that Ted Cruz endorsed Trump?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard something about that, like kind of off, like just kind of floated to my ear and kind of,
You're just sitting in your house and just this information comes to your head like somewhere.
Yeah, I kind of half heard it and I was like, did I just hear that correctly? No way. Ted Cruz would never do that.
Yeah, Trump tweeted out that he's pleasantly surprised. So, and then Stephen Colbert tweeted out, if you can't beat him, let him embarrass you for months and months and months, and then join him. Oh, Colbert. Yeah, so if you're listening to this snippet, you can listen to the whole show on youtube.com/Koppai Gaming, as well as iTunes, SoundCloud, and more by searching for Koppai Podcast. But here's the gist of it. Foxconn has leaked to Nintendo NX. Quote, NX is a console handheld hybrid. It is detachable. It contains the console itself, performance module, and the handheld/gamepad. The console, end quote, right? Yeah, okay. The console, the person refers to it as a, quote, dock, end quote, contains HDD, cartridge slot, and various other interfaces. It supports TV output, but no CPU/GPU. The performance module is a portable device that provides the power supply. It contains a Li-ion battery. CPU/GPU is also contained inside. So this is where for layman's terms, this is the computer right here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It supports Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and wired connections. You plug the dock inside, and it becomes a PlayStation 4, Xbox One-like console. But you can also transfer the signals to the handheld, similar to remote play. It's basically it's like a little tiny Wii U, and then you have the gamepad yourself. They go together. Mm-hmm. Speaking, though, of the gamepad part, the handheld part is a 6-inch 720p screen and has a low TDP SoC, which can satisfy basic operations with lower quality graphics when the performance module is not connected. But it can also display game graphics from the performance module, which can provide a console-level graphics experience, a little bit like the NVIDIA Shield streaming. You can bring the performance module with you as a portable device since it has its own battery. Probably, honestly, somewhat like the little tiny GameCube with its little handle. So maybe something like that. Maybe it's going to be called the GameCube 2.0. Who knows? And for those of you that are freaking out already that it's a 720p screen, keep in mind that that's 6 inches. It's going to look good. The Wii U gamepad was about that, and it was like 480. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Although, actually, I didn't think the Wii U gamepad looked too bad. I mean, when you look up from your TV or down, I guess, from your HD.
Wasn't it 580 or something like that?
Maybe, I don't know. Either way, it wasn't HD, like true HD.
Right.
Some additional info provided from Foxconn. Whatever the solution will be, the computing power it has falls far behind the PlayStation 4, let alone a PlayStation 4 Pro. So don't have high hopes for that. The selling point for it is the high portability and the hybrid providing rich gameplay possibilities, which would make sense we're going to get to it later, but Ubisoft is pumped for it. So if you're worried about third-party support, don't be. Seems like everyone that's looking at this thing is pretty excited, and I don't know. I think it's we've heard reports in the past that it's going to be about the Xbox One level. So yeah. If details don't get revealed in October, then maybe wait for the beginning of next year, says Foxconn, which is that's a little ridiculous, but I mean, I think it's going to be.
I don't know. I would definitely think there's going to be a lot of disappointed people. Oh, people are getting already super frustrated. They need to get this console out and announced. But I do think, and this could all even be fake, but just that point alone, just to dwell on it for a second, if Nintendo is so confident in this console, Like, I guess, they didn't know the success of what Pokemon Go was going to be, but they've seen the aftermath of it, and maybe their confidence is even growing a bit more for NX. And if they have so much confidence in this, and if they actually know it's going to do well, there's that possibility they could still hold off until the beginning of the year. It would disappoint a lot of people. I hope that they definitely don't do that. But I do think that it's a slight possibility that if they want to spend a little more time, just a little bit more time on it, or milk the Wii U just a little bit more. I don't know how they're going to do it, or if they just want to get through this holiday season with the Sun and Moon promotion, whatever it is. I could see that slight possibility that they know this console is going to be just amazing, and that people are going to freak out no matter when they announce it, and can be like, all right, we can wait a few months. So I think we definitely have to get through October and see. I'm hoping, praying to the
for those of you that didn't hear it in our previous discussion, in the previous snippet, to refresh everyone, I'm thinking October 4th, latest October 5th.
Okay.
So
yeah, now I'm saying October 3rd just to
be early.
So I win.
Yeah, and I also think my far out idea is that it's going to be announced or with some sort of partnership with Google as they announce their new line of hardware.
It's going to be called the Nintendo Pixel.
The Nintendo Pixel, yeah. Hey, man, shut up. I think it's actually a pretty good idea, so leave me alone. In a recent interview with GameSpot, Ubisoft CEO, or Ubisoft, if you're a freaking moron like my brother over here, says it all wrong, CEO Yves Joulamont offered his opinion on Nintendo's upcoming console. Quote, "The new Nintendo console is a fantastic machine. It's really a new approach. It's really Nintendo, which is coming with something new again. Quote, we love it," end quote. Joulamont also advised that Ubisoft are, quote, working on some other projects, end quote, for the NX, but did not elaborate farther on what this would entail. So they got some stuff coming. We know they have stuff coming. It was their the first thing they announced on stage at E3 was Just Dance for NX. So they got some stuff coming. No doubt they're going to at least start it off. Other podcasts have discussed that like they immediately supported the Wii U with, Rayman, Zombie U. It's not out of the question for them to support again, especially if they're looking at the console and they think that it has something appealing to it. GameSpot.
Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah. If they do stuff like that again, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess with something like, I think Assassin's Creed where it had like the map functionality at the bottom, like that can be nice. And maybe with Watch Dogs, like they do like, I guess it won't have two screens, I guess. So unless it's like some sort of
it would be the portability factor of it though.
Yeah.
Because now it'd suddenly be a lot more about that. It'd be about taking Watch Dogs 2 on the go with you.
That could be cool actually. But once again, unless it has trophies or achievements or something like that, I don't know if I'm just gonna get on the PlayStation then. So it'd have to be had to be like a very like
that's one of the big things that we gotta wait for. We've so far not really heard much about an achievement system.
Honestly, we haven't heard much about the UI at all. Like what the menu looks like. I mean, it's just I'm wondering about that a lot. Like, is it gonna be kind of a Miiverse sort of hub, where it's your Miitomo guy, My Nintendo? Is your Mii going to be your avatar? Like, I think that's a huge idea that they're going to have your Mii, kind of like when you loaded up the Xbox and stuff, how your little avatar is there. I would imagine seeing your Wii there, or your Mii, but like they're dressed up in the stuff that you got them like from Miitomo, which would then encourage people to download Miitomo to customize their Mii even more. And they'd like encourage that sort of ecosystem of like, hey, check out our apps on the iPhone or Android, like if you want to customize your guy. So.
Well, I think that's one of the big things is like, at this point we've known for quite a while it's most likely a handheld and console hybrid, or even if it wasn't, even if it was just a handheld, or if it was just a console, it's like cool. That's all good and cool, but what the big thing is what is the system like? What's the UI like? How does the system act and behave, and what are the games for it? Like, what games are we getting? What are the exact games? Like, are we getting the next 3D Mario? Are we getting Metroid? What that we're getting this new IP is what's new is coming. You know, that's what is the most exciting thing about it. It's like you can put a Wii U in front of somebody, or you can put in any console, and if you just turn it on and all it is a piece of hardware that has great specs but nothing else, like it's all cool, but you know what I'm saying, is like that's what we're all really waiting for, I feel.
Yeah.
It's like this is all really kind of cool information, but it's like what difference does it really make in the scheme of things when really it wouldn't really matter if we were getting a 3DS game that was Breath of the Wild, or if we were getting Breath of the Wild on Wii or Wii U or any, like that's what matters is Breath of the Wild and the gameplay experience and what the next game is. So it's like we just gotta wait for that, figure out what that is, because, you know.
And I think the big thing that is going to be I guess the hook of the NX is going to be the fact that it is just everything all in one. For the first party development side of things, that Nintendo can only just we'll be able to now just focus on one device. What makes me think about that though is why not just focus on, you know, the development of PlayStation games then, you know, which then just port it over to Xbox. Like, you know, if their focus is on minimizing, you know, splitting up their staff into different, like, handheld and whatever studios, then just, I mean, unless they just don't want to give up the handheld market, and since the Vita is pretty much dead and Microsoft doesn't have a portable, they're like, all right, we're going to take matters into our own hands and make a portable device. But, I mean, I just don't get why, I mean, yeah, I would think that they just, by now, just start, if that's their only focus, and, like, if what you're saying, like, they don't have anything really beyond that, why not just make PlayStation and PlayStation Vita games? Like, unless they just don't trust the Vita or that platform or whatever. Yeah. But if this thing comes out and it's basically a Vita, I'm going to be really confused. Like, there's got to be something else going on here. Like, interchangeable buttons.
I guess that's true, but I mean, if they have control over the way that their hardware works and the way that they like to specifically develop games in their environment of making sure it's the way that they can use the hardware to the vision that they're going for with this generation as a whole, instead of having to use the PS4 ecosystem or the X, you know, that sort of thing. I think that they have been able to kind of reluctantly, but also, you know, with some optimism, go into the mobile and smartphone route. But I can see them still being, I can see them seeing that as more of a new open avenue that's not as threatening and as competitive as the console war sort of market, you know?
Regardless, Koppai will always be here to stay. Whether Nintendo is making hardware or they switch to software only, we're always going to be Nintendo. GameSpot also asked Gillemont why the company had so much faith in Nintendo, and he advised about the effects new systems have on consumers. So this kind of goes in response to what we're talking about with the NX, and why this, like, why have faith in this thing beyond, like, you know, because we're kind of being a little skeptical that it's not going to be anything beyond a Vita or something. So Gillemont says, quote, "What we see is players are more open when new hardware is coming. So we have the chance to come with something we have never done before, because we know that if we are the first, there, people will try our game, and maybe we'll be able to get that into that new genre. As our people wanted to do with a game like Zombie U, they were happy they could just use the Wii U to do it. For us, a machine is a tool of expression. When everything becomes stable, it's less open to innovation. We always want innovation." And so, okay. Continuing on. However, if you try something a little new and it's not perfect, you come back quickly to what you know and works. As a gamer, if you change to new hardware, you have no references. So you're looking at what people are saying are, quote, the best, or are the best games, and then trying them. But if you have an established machine and there's all the experiences you know on it already, you know you're going to miss some of those to try something new. So you're less inclined. For us, we know opportunities to try something new are a lot more rewarding when it's a new machine. So I honestly found that kind of hard to follow, his little kind of train of thought there. that
Well, I think all he's saying is that uh, it's good. It's easier to innovate on new hardware, basically. When everything's kind of becomes, everybody gets in kind of a rhythm of how a system works.
yeah.
There's not as much new and experimentation, so they're excited about
That's the thing though, is
the
I just don't agree
NX and
with that.
how,
Like,
yeah.
cause I look at a game series like Uncharted, for example, and Colin Moriarty from PS I Love You, the number one PlayStation podcast on the internet, they talk about this all the time, where he's like, you look at something like the PS3, which was out for 10 years because of the economy and the strikes and all of that, and people freaking out and not being able to afford it or like to budget and make a new console. You have this situation where like Naughty Dog squeezed that console dry and got so much out of it and innovated in fresh new ways to make their games fresh on a piece of hardware that was 10 years old. And you have these other developers that are trying these new things. It's like you look at early PlayStation 3 versus the end of PlayStation 3 and it's like, oh my goodness, like this is insane. And then you look at PlayStation 4, and not to knock against remasters because I love like the new definitive edition of games, but like this latest like generation of consoles is like very much so lacking originality in the sense of like, game design, where I think they're awesome games. I think it's if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I think it's almost the opposite, where when you have these consoles that are just able to last for a long time, like a computer game, or like if they're going to be able to keep these Xboxes going for a long time now, and if they're going to be able to reiterate the PlayStation just with these kind of little steps, I think you're going to see more potential for innovation because they're not having to jump around
I
console to
don't know.
console to console.
Well, the thing is, I don't know. You see, like, early VR, I would use it as an example of somewhere where people are kind of just going in with kind of crazy ideas. Some of them are absolutely not going to work. And I think there's a bit of a difference between, like, reiterating or, like, improving on a already established formula versus coming out with something that could potentially completely flop, has no precedent, and it's just coming out to try something new on brand new hardware just to see what kind of thing you can do on it. And it seems like all he's trying to make the point of is that on an early hardware, it's maybe easier to be found, easier for people to jump on and try something new. You feel more motivated sometimes as a company to just come up with something that's completely out of the ordinary, just to see, will this work on here, or how can we use, there's all these different opportunities with new hardware that I don't know if they're necessarily saying that, like, on a PS4 or on a Wii U that's been out for many years, that it's impossible to have any innovation at all or to try anything new. It's just like, it's perfect and ripe with a new console to get in there and try some things that are just, maybe bound to fail, maybe gonna just take off and go crazy, but, it's like just new kind of foreign land, like hopping on a new planet and seeing like, oh, okay, I guess some of the systems are the same, but there's a few things here that maybe we can just take advantage of in a new way that other consoles couldn't do.
I don't know. I
Before
just look at, because I just think it's almost the opposite, where like, say for example, the NX was basically a Wii U 2, where it was just a nice HD gamepad, but there was still like a second screen experience that was like just completely docked at home. Or say it was a 3DS 2, where it was dual screen on the go console, like, and just completely not new, just refined experience. I would think, because now you have all these people that know how to use two screens, where in the early days, it's like, what do we use the bottom screen for other than a map? But now you have games that are able to completely utilize that, like Super Mario Maker, where you can do these things that you would never be able to do. And the innovation has come so much later, and people are like eager to try these new things well into the console cycle. I just don't think it's necessarily limited to just at the launch of a new console. And so I just think, like, I don't think that, I don't know, I think that just, I mean, he's not completely wrong. Like, sure, a new console comes out and people are excited to try new things, and because no one had, like, or no one has any Wii U or NX games. They're just going to go out there completely blind and just get whatever looks the coolest, despite whether it's already established or innovation or whatever. It's just kind of a blank slate for people. And I guess that creates more opportunity, like in the practical sense of it. Yes, there is more opportunity there because it's just a completely blank slate. But I just don't know if I agree that there's more or less innovation. Like when it, like, cause he says here directly, when everything becomes stable, it's less open to innovation. And I just think that's completely the opposite. I think when a piece of hardware becomes more stable and when people finally figure it out, it's like, okay, now we can just squeeze this dry for every piece of innovation that we want.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that already with the PlayStation 4. Like, people are starting to be like, here's what you can do with this console, that you didn't see like in the launch window. And same with the Wii U and same with the Wii. The things we saw with the Wii by the end of it, the graphics they were able to pull out of Super Mario Galaxy 2, like just the innovation for all of these was way down the line. And so I just don't, when everything becomes stable, it's less open to innovation. We always want innovation. I just don't get that. I think it's just kind of more PR speak to support the NX, which I'm all for NX support, but this just seemed pretty, for me, kind of wrong. But
Well, I mean, I guess another example is like the old consoles like NES and Super Nintendo have been out for so long, but people on the internet, like the homebrew communities, will still be developing new like
software
demos or things to push the limits and just try new things. And so there's always innovation even happening on these really old ancient consoles. And so I think you're right that it's not entirely true. I think that part of it is true. Part of what he's saying is not true, but part of it is true in terms of people maybe feeling more inclined to experiment and try something crazy and new and potentially get more noticed on a new piece of hardware where something could take off, have more opportunity to just completely surprise people.
Yeah. Moving on to wrap up the topic of the show, the Nintendo NX production is estimated to be about 9.5 to 10 million units per year. We talked about this in the Nintendo pipeline. So, solid numbers. That would mean, how long is the
It's a lot.
Yeah, how long's the PlayStation 4 been out now? Like 3 years? 4 years?
Yeah.
And they're at 40 million, so that would be putting it on track with about something like the PlayStation 4 modern consoles. So, they're basically, that's double what the Wii U was, so they're estimating it to be double Wii U sales.
Well, if even if they did this for 2 years. And then re-evaluated it. Or even did the first year of just 10 million units for the first year and then seeing, do we need to just keep this route going? And so,
not bad. Like a nice even number. Like they're not like, let's do 20 million a year and they have all these extras on the shelf, but they're not like, underselling themselves and they're not.
Hopefully we don't have a hardware shortage though, like Amiibo and everything.
I was worried about that too with that estimated number, but when I thought about how much, to sell on par with the PlayStation 4 would be to sell incredibly well, so.
Yeah, but 10 million, they're going like, oh man, the Wii U, like what if? Like, oh crap, it's like the days of the Wii, that's never gonna happen again. Alright, let's get a modest 10 million units. And then what we saw with like Pokemon Go. About like 50 million people in a few days were playing it. What if it's just like, holy crap, everybody's back to Nintendo, and it's like, oh my god, now what if 50 million people in a few days want an NX? And it's like, it's a really unlikely scenario, but, we never saw it. It was unprecedented. Pokemon Go was a complete unprecedented thing, and the Wii was, that's true.
This is gonna be like $200 probably, if not.
But they have made millions and millions and millions of dollars on Pokemon Go from all the sales.
We'll see. It's gonna be exciting to hear what the final price is of that.
And
what the name is. But
$4.99.
Oh, no, shut up. And last but not least for the topic of the show, the Pokemon Company CEO Tsunekazu Ishihara has confirmed that Pokemon is coming to the Nintendo NX. This is one of the things that we were raving about when we first heard about the NX, that a lot of people weren't piecing together, that it'll be the first console Pokemon game, and that you can basically be playing Pokemon on the go and then just beam it to your TV. It's going to be freaking legit, and we're going to talk about that more in the Pokeblock, which is our next segment here. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can go over and check out the Pokeblock, or if you're listening to the audio version, we're just going to talk about that soon. But Zach, real quick, I'm going to give you one chance to guess what the Nintendo NX name is before we close out the topic of the show. All of this information culminates into one name. What is it?
The Nintendo hybrid. I don't know. I'm just, I don't think that's accurate. I would
like a Nissan hybrid.
Yeah, that's what that came to mind after it. So I actually think, I hope they stick with just the NX. Because I think that they've sold it, they've detached so much, everybody is hyped on it, it sounds like the future, it sounds like the now, it sounds like what they need to do. Otherwise, could they do the Nintendo? I liked the Nintendo Go.
Yeah, that's
cool
my answer. Is I think Jared Petty stole it from me, and he stole it from Sam Claiborne over on Nintendo Voice Chat. I was actually thinking just the Nintendo Go. Like I could picture like the logo where like Nintendo is just the normal letters, but then Go is like in bold, kind of like how the Nintendo DS had that sort of style, like where DS was tagged on the end. But yeah, the Nintendo Go or something, or Nintendo Go.
They haven't used like the Dolphin or the Revolution like as actual names. They've just been code names.
Wasn't the N64 a code name though?
N64 was Reality.
Oh.
Project Reality.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Or no, DS was the code name.
Yeah. And so that's why people say that it could be that the NX just sticks with that name. And I love the NX. I love throwing up the X.
Yep.
I love just the power it feels with Nintendo. It makes sense, so just call it the NX. It'd be, sleek and cool it's a minimal, it has a minimalist feel to it. So I like that.
Yeah. I'm thinking just for the sake of guessing.
So does Go. If they also went a route like that, just something that's very minimalistic.
Yeah, like Go with Nintendo, or something like that, I think Go makes a lot of sense. Kind of bank off the Pokemon Go, and then you have like Hitman Go, Lara Croft Go, all these games Go.
Yeah, that's true. But then you have, cause you can pronounce these words like and Go, instead of saying like NX, I guess, it would kind of go in line with having a word that.
And I think they're making the comment on Nintendo Voice Chat, like a Go is more universal. Like in Japan, there's Pokemon Go, and Go is very well, like people know in Japan what Go means. It's go, go, go. And universally, I think Go is just kind of like, you just kind of know what it means. Or people can learn what it means very quickly. Where NX, whether it's like Nintendo Experience or whether it just stands for Nintendo X, like it's just kind of like, what does that mean? Is that like a home console? Is that like is it like a platform? Is it a piece of software like the Nintendo Experience? Is that like an app you download?
Yeah.
But the Nintendo Go though makes sense. Like this is the device you take on the go.
Well, and Pokemon Go just caught the entire world's attention, and so if they announce that there's now the Nintendo Go, it's gonna perk a lot of ears. Yeah. So
my only worry with that is that it may be like, all right, you're just cashing off Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
We'll see. But that concludes the topic of the show. Be sure to leave your thoughts down below on what you think the NX will be called and what you think about its specs and its hardware and the Foxconn leak. I believe our thumbnail on the YouTube version is going to be the Foxconn sketch, which may or may not be true, but just kind of give you an idea of what we were talking about. So be sure to leave your thoughts on that. And if you enjoyed our discussion, be sure to like, share, and review us on iTunes as well as other podcast services, and tweet at us at Koppai Gaming.